I honestly cried to sleep last night. And guess what? I woke up this morning crying. In fact, after shedding tears last night, I washed my face, because somebody told me that when you cry to bed, you have these black knuckles here. So I had to wash my face. Unfortunately, the tears kept coming. This morning, I was also surprised, waking up again. I record everything that happened last night, that I heard, saw last night. The tears started coming again. I mean, living in the Western country is absolutely becoming more scary to myself. Living in the UK, in the Western world, especially when it comes to our children, it's as if they don't just want us to live the true family life. I mean, being free with our children, they want to create this kind of fear in parents in terms of communicating, relating with their kids, because you are afraid of what the child would say are there. Being that case, they don't lie. They like keeping it, telling things the way it is. So this very woman, her children was taken away. Please don't mind the way I look. I'm in the kitchen making soft chin-chin for my church this evening. 90% or let's say 97% British people, so I'll be making soft chin-chin for them this evening, and about to make lunch. So this is the real me. So this woman, she got her children taken away from her. 5-month-old and a 3-year-old son. What really happened? She came back from holiday from her home country with her 2 children. Then child welfare, social services, they started paying her visits, series of visits. They come to her house to watch, to monitor what she's doing and all them stuff. And she received them, 2 social workers. She usually received these people, I mean, open-minded. She would give them tea, biscuit, they would drink. And once she turns her back to get something from the kitchen, they will write, shekle, shekle, shekle. Hey, Jesus have mercy on me. And then, one of the accusations was that this woman, she was feeding her child with her hands. They were like, it's an abuse to feed a child with. But this is a culture where this woman comes from. It is allowed. It is culturally allowed. People have their eating habit. Just like in my country, Nigeria, we eat swallow with our hand. We don't use fork and knife, except those in the seminary school, those in the boarding school. They are the ones that uses this Oyibo way of eating with cutleries, fork, and in fact, generally speaking, give a Nigerian all this bunch of cutleries, the person would even take just a spoon and leave your fork and knife for you, because this is the way we are trained. So this mom was feeding her child with hand. It became a problem. One of the days, the social workers were in the house. A woman with 2 children. Now, she was feeding the little one and then made food for the one that is 3 years old. She called the husband to come help her. The husband just gave only a spoon. And the husband was like, I've told you to stop feeding this boy with hand before those social workers. The woman was like, what is wrong with this? This is how we eat in our country. Yeah. The man didn't even feed that child up to 2 spoons. He was rushing out to go to work. Social services, the social workers, they noted that. They were shaking them. The man left. Possibly they asked the woman, this is another point I want to drive in this video. They asked this woman a question about, does your husband not help you out to do some chores at home, cooking, washing, cleaning? The husband, I think the woman responded that the man works. Yes. African tradition, Indian tradition, though in India, I am certain that the women, they mostly work, because I remember those years we were in Saudi Arabia, the women there, they work, they go back to marry the man. It is usually the woman that marries the man. So the women are hardworking, but this is entirely different from what I'm seeing in this country, because in the UK, the Indian men, in fact, they own the largest African shop, taxi driving, they are into it. I mean, so check, they are mostly hardworking. All these food restaurants are owned by the Indians, the Asians, the men, So possibly when they come abroad, that culture changes or something. I don't know. If you are an Indian, please put me through. Yes, correct my error here, because the men among Indians are hardworking. So the man was working, In our culture, in African culture, for instance, especially Nigeria, the men are usually meant to be the breadwinner of the family. They work so hard. I think this is why culturally the men, They were not trained, or they are not trained to be domesticated. It's just lately, in the recent times, that a lot of men are being domesticated, especially the kind of parents you have, you know. But my own son that I've got now, to be honest, I will teach him how to do everything, not force him, because in this country, if you ask a child to do something, they will be like you are forcing the child against their will, against his will, you know. But I am not going to force my child, but I will teach. Teaching is different from forcing, because you know. So this is the way we are brought up in Africa, in some of our traditions. So this woman may have told them, just like she stated in court, you know, but they turned everything around. Unfortunately, one of the days these social workers came, the last day they were supposed to visit, they brought their boss to come so that they will come for their last visit. As they got there, the woman went to the kitchen to make food, and the husband too. They decided to interview the husband. So they called the husband aside to say, your wife reported that you don't help out in the house, you don't cook, you don't clean, you only go to work. You see the way they turned the whole thing. Normally, I don't think any woman would just say this, considering where we are coming, our tradition, especially when your man provide the money for the family 100% or 99%, your mom provide the money, you know. Now, watch what you say to these people. This is Obodo Yibo. Be very cautious. Every statement you make, they will note it and expand it. In fact, by the time they start expanding the contents of that one single statement you made, you will be like, did I really say something like this? I never meant this. You know, this is just like when most reactors, sometimes when they make videos at times, the person or whatever that person did they were reacting about, the person might have not thought it in that way, you know. Sorry to say this, but this is what I think. This is what I feel. So, what they said to this man, your wife reported that you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't help out in the house, you only go to work. Instead of this man to reply yes or no, he walked straight to the kitchen to ask the wife, did you tell the social workers that I don't help you at home, I don't do anything, I don't cook? You know, he held the wife's hand. The wife was struggling with the hand and telling him that you are going to hurt me or something like that. Guess what the social workers did? They took the baby, that 5-month-old baby, ran into the car. They chased after them. The husband and wife, they chased after them. They went to the boys' school. The 3-year-old, they went to the school to pick up the boy. They took the 2 children away. And that was it. It became a battle. You know. Guys, this is not just a story, but it's a reality of what has been happening. And in the process of this woman trying to get her child, they tagged her mentally unfit. Yes, mentally unfit, mentally imbalanced to look after her own children. And her husband was only interested in getting the citizenship of the country where they were, as at that moment. For 2 long years, this woman did not set her eyes on her children. In fact, the attempt she made to take the children away to a different country, from that country, they sent her back to the original country where the case was being carried out. And they tagged her that she attempted to kidnap her own children. In fact, I cried all through, you know, yesterday, seeing and hearing all this. That really got me concerned. How can? Because this woman, each time she goes home, she does not sleep. Yes, 5-month-old, your baby that is still suckling will be in another person's care, different people's care. Hey, and your 3-year-old. Even now that I have an 8-year-old, I can't just, if not going to work, maybe I'm working night, this is the only time I can leave him, and then my husband is home, or somebody who is related to me is home. Imagine leaving your own child to strangers. How do you expect that woman to sleep? How do you expect that woman to eat and enjoy the food? It is the highest form of depression. So I started researching last night. What is this fostering, you know, foster care? What is it all about? Do they really get paid to do this? You know, I found out that it's a business, it's a full-time job, part-time job. Even in the UK, people do this as a full-time job. Now, when they take your child or your children away from you, guess what happens? when they start carrying out the case, contact you, they will go to court and blah, blah, blah. If it turns out that they want you, the case is against you, what would they do? They will put the children in the foster care. Sorry, they will put the children in the care homes. There are children's care homes in this very country. Then from there, they will put up the child for fostering. Does anybody want to take the child for fostering? These people get paid every month. Minimum amount of 200 plus, some 100 and something, you know. And in the whole of the year, some of them make 24,000 to 26,000. Foster parents, foster carers. They make this money. How much? Nurses in this very country, they don't earn up to 30K. Whereas these people, they earn almost 26,000 and more, depending on the kind of child, the age of the child they are looking after. It is there on gov.co.uk how much these people get earned. I was beginning to wonder and see the reason why somebody would have the mind to take away somebody's children from them. And the worst case scenario is this: if you have 3 children and one of the child is the one who is having an issue or who had a problem with you, a case with the social services, by the time they judge the case and it turns out to be against you, they will come for your 2 other children will follow suit. They wouldn't leave them, any of them, with you. And until 18 years, what will happen? They said until 18 years, until after 18 years, if the child decides to come back to the parents. Now that my boy is 8-year-old, guess what happens? If you take him away, give him to a different home for 5 long years, he might not be interested in the parents again now. The family has automatically lost ownership to that child. And I don't think that they allow the family, access to communicate with this. But how can you be a parent to someone and you are somewhere, the child is somewhere? This is, I cannot comprehend it, to be honest with you. I can't just comprehend it. Nobody will take care of a child more than the parents. Yes. When you talk to your child, correct your child, it is a way to correct that child. You don't mean to harm, you don't mean to hurt a child. You can imagine the trauma this woman went through, losing the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old to social services for how many years? They actually bribed a young man that took these children for adoption. Yes, when they approached him first, he was like, no, that the mother, the parents are the best people to take care of their own children. But then they told him they will be paying him so amount in a month. His head blew popcorn. He decided to accept and took those children as the foster parents just because of the money he would be getting every month. Can you imagine the sadness? And this is why whatever they ask, they give them. Because if they make any report against them, they might take away the children from them, or they might take the children away from them. You know, I cried. There are a lot of things you need to know. Now, one of the allegations they also brought up against this woman in the court was that she was not taking care of the children. And because there was also a day in school, they asked the children to bring tree. The boy that is 3-year-old to bring a tree. You know, they would do something like a practical lessons. This woman bought that tree. The next day she was taking this boy to school. She forgot. She told the teacher, sorry, I forgot this. Can I bring it tomorrow? And the teacher said they cannot hold that lesson tomorrow. That thing was also used against that woman. In this country, in the Western world, whatever they ask your child to bring, please buy it. If it means putting it by the door, your exit door, put it there a day too, so that you wouldn't forget to take it to school the next day, because they are recording all this. Don't ever make a mistake to say things, I don't know, I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I don't know. Don't think that these people, they are asking you these questions because they mean, just like our Nigerian brother, MD, that went and sold off everybody without knowing the implication. He was overexcited, overwhelmed, that he was going to appear on BBC for the first time. Probably they put 100 sweeteners in his cup of tea and he started voicing out. I never knew the meaning of japa. Do you know japa? You know, it's a word, according to my husband, Yoruba word. I never knew the meaning until this thing started trending. I know that japa is like people traveling, but the original meaning of that word, japa, I'm a Nigerian, I didn't know. But this young man went to BBC, opened up his mouth and spilled everything entirely. When these people comes to ask you questions, what does your husband do? Tell them. Does it help at home? You begin to say your husband, yeah, he works, but you are the one that do this and do that and do that. They are recording it, taking it against you and your husband. But in our culture, remember that it doesn't mean anything when a man works full time, you know, and probably does not have the time to start helping out, because he works, he comes home, he eats, but he provides the money. As a matter of fact, most women in our country, they don't even like their men being in the kitchen, helping out. They want to do everything because they also have mates. It's only the ones that have come to the Western world that have started helping out. Though there are a couple of domesticated men in our country back home. My brothers are, and a lot of men that I've met, you know. But let's say 60% of men in Nigeria, they are not that domesticated. They believe in working hard, providing money for the families. So when you open your mouth and say, my husband works, my husband don't provide 100% of the financial whatever in the house, it is a serious case, Nobudo Yibo. They will just make a case out of it. So for the fact that fostering is, that's a fostering, Oyibo. For the fact that fostering, you know, is a kind of job in this country, Obodo Yibo, in the Western world, makes it easier for somebody to, like, I don't know, I can appreciate. I also, to be honest with you, I sincerely appreciate the work social services are doing in the Western country, especially when it comes to domestic abuse. A child being manhandled, being maltreated, being abused, it is okay for them to come in, you know, save that child, rescue that child. And it is not good hitting a child with stick, just like we do back home. It's our culture, but here in Obodo Yibo, they don't want that. We, the African parents, we are learning to stop hitting our children. That is the much we can do, you know. But guys, please, save your family. Save your family. If I am becoming a social worker, to be honest with you, I'll have nothing to do with the child and family social work. No, not for me. I cannot do that. I cannot have the heart. How can you take children's, how can you have the mind to take people's children away, hand them over to people they call foster parents, whereas the biological parents are still alive somewhere, having depression, restlessness because their children were taken away, and you hand them over to strangers? No. To be honest with you, I cried to bed, and they got me to research and found out. I never knew that these people got paid. When I hear foster care, foster this, I thought that is something they do voluntarily. Adoption is the one that is free, though a little stipend is being given. I would even appreciate a child going in for adoption rather than this fostering, to be honest with you, because it's a job. I am not the one that say that. Go to Google and search for yourself. So you have to be very much careful, because not all of them, some of these people that are tagging and taking away your children, now their job, or they have to work for them to get paid. To be honest with you, they have to work for them to get paid, you know. But some of them, they meant genuinely well for these little ones. Yes. But new Africans coming to the UK learn that here you don't beat, you don't hit, you better talk. Dialogue is the best way to treat children, to talk to children in this part of the world. Pamper them, you know, talk to them in the language that they can understand. Don't force them to eat what they don't want to eat. Don't be too harsh on them, because they will go out there and say it the same way it happened, which is actually the truth. Children do not lie. It's quite understandable. So let's be cautious. And guess what? I woke up this morning, I received a text message. Social services are coming. They were supposed to come in this afternoon, 3 o'clock. But she later said they will come tomorrow. You know my case with them. They will come tomorrow. This has been like 1 month now. This happened. Meanwhile, this is a movie that I've just reviewed. Yes, it's called Mrs. Chatterjee and is it Anne or versus Norway? If you have not watched that movie and you are new to the Western world, go and watch it so that you can learn how to be cautious, how to control your mouth, how to deal with your children. But that woman or that woman, in all honesty, she was treated unfairly to my understanding. I cried all through. So go and watch that movie. This is a movie review. Yes, it's currently on Netflix. I don't watch movie, I don't have time for it. But yesterday we were home and the children are on holiday. School is on holiday. You know, we came back from Darlington. I decided to like do something different. After watching a couple of YouTube videos, I said, let me just watch, because the movie is trending. Take your time, watch that movie. Be careful, be cautious with your children when dealing with them. This woman, she tried to run away with her kids. They tagged her that she kidnapped her children. Another big charge against her. A mom who had a 5-month-old and a 3. When I go kill me be that now. That is the thing. How will I be sleeping without my own? The honest truth is that since I finished watching that movie and made the research I made online about social services, the type of social services, foster care, how much they get paid, you know, the allowances they get paid, and they even have private organizations for social workers. Those private ones wouldn't even mean, it's like agency workers. Not being for their money, they care about how much higher they earn, you know. So it's a full-time work. So since that yesterday night till now, I've been having ghost pimples each time I remember this. This is a full-time job. I beg, make people know, use your children and yourself, you know, chop money in this very country. Let's be very cautious. Unfortunately, if you say they cannot take away your children, it's a lie. They usually go take them directly from school. So your children might be in school, they will go there and collect them. There is nothing you can do. Even if they come home to collect your children, usually they get something like court order, police order, you know. But even in this woman's case, they did not even have any court order, no police order to take the children. In fact, the court should have said the social services stole the children from this family, but they didn't say that. They claimed that they were saving them. Can you imagine? You know, so if they come to your house to take your children away, if you start fighting or struggling to crying, they will say you are mentally crazy. That's another thing. I am so scared. I've been so scared. To be honest, I think the best would be to go back to our country. Yes, because there is no point coming to Obodo Oyibo. You come to the Western world to better your life, and they will take away the only thing that gives you joy, your only source of happiness. Is it not your children? What is life? What is, marriage, when you already have kids and all of a sudden your joy and happiness will be taken away? You are alive, koro, and your children will be in a foster care. Some people, not just one people, because there are different people that comes. The foster parents, they take them into a home. Yes, a particular home, but it's uncalled for. How will you be waking up and sleeping, eating? You have a child, is in somebody else's home until 18 years. After 18 years, that child automatically might not even remember you. To be honest, it's as clear as that. Might be like, so where were you? What happened? He might grow up in that mentality that you were trying to hurt him or her. Therefore, these people came for his or her rescue. It's such a sad situation, to be honest. Let's be extremely cautious. Guide our children, do the right thing, avoid anything that would make us, get into the net of this set of professionals. I respect the job you guys do as social workers in this part of the world. Kudos. But